Hi, I'm Hyeok from Northwestern University. Today I'm presenting Dupo, a mixed initiative authoring tool for responsive visualization on behalf of my colleagues. Responsive visualization refers to creating a data visualization adapted for different device and screen types. To accommodate readers using different devices, responsive visualization is a must for communication. However, creating responsive visualization isn't that easy. Visualization authors need to consider various strategies for each device types. In doing so, they may not be aware of all the possible strategies or fixate on their previous strategies without exploring alternatives. Therefore, our work aims at augmenting visualization authors' abilities to create responsive visualization through automated design exploration while keeping their agency in customization. We take a mixed initiative approach to enable this combination of human customization and design recommendation. We demonstrate this approach in Dupo, an authoring system for responsive visualization that supports manual authoring features and automated design exploration. We designed Dupo considering 4 objectives: supporting design exploration with automated features, retaining users' ability to control the recommender, allowing for using manual and automated features by adding one upon another whenever user wants or progressively, and supporting flexible management of multiple responsive designs. To support design exploration, Dupo employs a 2-step recommender pipeline, which consists of high-level exploration and low-level alteration. We made this separation because showing all the possible transformations at the same time can overwhelm the users with subtleties, making it harder to distinguish one from another. Exploration is about more noticeable changes to data, layout, encoding, and mark type. Alteration is for more subtle changes to reference, text, and interaction. Now let's see how this pipeline works in a user scenario. I'm going to introduce a story of Chris, a visualization author who is creating a responsive visualization in a mobile-first way. For more details about the interface, please refer to our paper. Chris first creates a bar chart about election results for a smartphone screen. After semi-finalizing the phone version, Chris creates a desktop version or a desktop artboard. Artboard means the design area for a responsive version. Dupo offers some preset artboard sizes and device details for common device types. To make a better use of the increased white space, Chris repositions the annotation closer to the corresponding bar mark. Upon repositioning the annotation, Dupo shows a quick edit suggestion for removing the tick line. Chris accepts this suggestion. To explore other possibilities that Chris hasn't thought about, Chris requests design suggestions for high-level exploration. In the recommender window, Dupo suggests high-level design transformations to data encoding, mark, and layout. In this case, Dupo suggests default rescaling option, axis transpose, and mark and encoding changes to a dot plot. Chris browses these suggestions. Chris remembers a previous edit to increase the title font size. So Chris clicks Bring My Existing Edits option to see how the previous edit works with the design suggestions. Chris now wants to explore some variations to one of the design suggestions. In the action wizard, Chris clicks a similar button. When hover over a suggestion, Dupo shows an action wizard that offers control options and descriptions about the transformations made to that suggestion. This low-level alteration shows more subtle changes, such as adding axis labels, repositioning text elements, and adding tooltips. Chris applies the default resizing option and branches an alteration suggestion with the title moved so that Chris can further prototype desktop designs. While I showed a simpler design case for the ease of understanding, Dupo can produce a variety of designs. For example, given a desktop design, Dupo recommends these smartphone versions, such as splitting a line chart into small multiples, transpose axes while differently aligning the layout, and changing encodings with number indexing annotations. Now I'm going to describe more technical side of Dupo. The components of Dupo's two-step recommender pipeline, exploration, and alteration work in a similar way, consisting of input, search, evaluate, and output. For input, Dupo takes a source design that a user has already created and constraints indicated by the user. Then Dupo enumerates candidate responsive designs using features extracted from the input and a predefined search space. Dupo ranks these candidate designs using the weighted sum of message loss measures and density loss measures based on relevant prior work. Lastly, those ranked designs are presented in Dupo's interface as we saw in the walkthrough. There's another type of recommendation, quick edits for next step transformations. Once a user makes a manual edit, then Dupo suggests applicable next step edits. For example, after resizing the artboard, Dupo suggests rescaling the mark size proportionally. To recap, Dupo is designed to support design exploration, user control, progressive authoring, and flexible design management. In order to see how Dupo helps users with respect to our design goals, we conducted a user study. We asked how Dupo supports design exploration, how visualization authors use and control features for both automated and manual designs, and how feasible Dupo is for day-to-day tasks. We invited 6 graphics reporters who have regularly published responsive visualizations for several years. Our study followed these procedures. First, we had a short training session with step-by-step instructions. Then they used Dupo for 30 minutes. They were instructed to create a smartphone version first. Then if the time remains, they were instructed to work on other responsive versions. Throughout the test, they were instructed to do think aloud. After completing the main task, participants responded to a self-evaluation question in the 5-level scale from very unsatisfied to very satisfied. Lastly, we asked several interview questions for 15 minutes. Participants in general made 2 to 4 responsive versions across different screen sizes given 30 minutes. They exhibited design fixation for their phone versions given that they had spent lots of time designing their original one. However, they tried out different, more drastic changes for other versions that they had not designed previously. E4 noted that the multiple bar charts are a different look. It's an emphasis on the regions as opposed to the overall volume of the independent bookstores like you get here with the stacked bar charts. Participants generally spent least time using the recommender than making manual edits per version. Dupo was used to automate changes to overall sizes, layout, and encoding, while participants tended to manually modify text elements and reference objects. While Dupo offered transformations to multiple properties at the same time, participants tested out different values for the same property. For example, they applied different font sizes to find the optimal one. Next, participants were mostly satisfied with their responsive version designs. They responded satisfied or very satisfied for 14 out of the 17 versions they had created. They found Dupo's design recommendations were reasonable. For the original small multiple line chart for the desktop version, E2 said that my team actually did mock up a version that was like this heat map. Future work can apply our mixed initiative approach to other visualization design methods. For example, graphical interfaces like Illustrator and Figma can provide methods that users can specify visualization roles so that recommender can better understand their intent. Programming-based approaches such as using D3 can employ AI-based code suggestion tools like Copilot for responsive designs. Lastly, template-based tools can offer more flexibility in combining different templates for device types with some automation. This is the end of the talk. Thank you for listening.